because he's so far up Donald Trump's rectum that he can basically see out of his mouth at this point. Yeah, he took that result with all the grace, dignity and humility that one would expect. And of course, with everything to do with Milo, there was the usual homophobic, even though he's gay, I know, it's just the way it is apparently, and racist abuse and bigotry that went along with it, and at no extra charge. Yes, Milo really is an absolute waste of perfectly good carbon. But there is one more tweet from him that I want to show you, because it will form the centre for this episode's edition of... Yes, it's the almost inevitable bit about Lacey Green. Yippee! Now Lacey put out a tweet, which Milo responded to, and it's here. Lacey says, "Truly shocked that #Brexit passed. Take note, America. Racist politics are potent and mobilises voters. President Trump is entirely possible." To which Milo replies, "You are thick as pig shit, girl." Now, for those who don't know, the term thick as pig shit is a British parlance for being very stupid. I don't know if that necessarily translates to America and other places, but that's what that means anyway. Now, what could Milo be objecting to in this? Because presumably he doesn't object to the last sentence there, President Trump is entirely possible, because Milo definitely believes that President Trump is possible, because he supports Trump, because he's a twat. And he can't be objecting to the first sentence, because he was truly shocked that #Brexit passed as well, as you can see from some of the tweets you just saw. So clearly he's objecting to the racist politics are potent and mobilises voters bit. So is he saying that racism was absolutely no part of this Brexit thing whatsoever? And I think that's precisely what he is saying here. And I'd like to disprove your fucking bullshit, Milo, in one image. Now, I could have put together a massive fuck-off sized compilation of different images and bits from speeches which show that actually racism and fear of immigrants that was being pumped out by the Leave campaign was a basic cornerstone of everything they fucking did. They never shut up about it. But I'm not even going to bother with that because A, I'm a lazy cunt, and B, I don't need to, because all I need to do is show you this one image. Now, I know before any of you pedantic fuckers out there start, okay, that's a composite of 4 images. Don't fucking start with me, alright? Now, in the top left-hand corner, that is the very, very controversial UKIP poster that was put out during the referendum. In fact, it was put out on the same day that British Member of Parliament Jo Cox was murdered in the street. And indeed, she was murdered by someone shouting, "Put Britain first." And the other 3 images are scenes from Nazi propaganda. And they read, "Who flooded Europe's cities after the last war? Parasites undermining their host countries and bringing with them crime, corruption and chaos." Now you'll notice the eerie similarity in the composition there, and indeed the eerie similarity between the sorts of rhetoric that was being pumped out by the Leave campaign, and indeed Donald Trump in America, and the Nazi propaganda against the Jews. So to put it mildly, Milo, you're full of shit. Now, another fine example of manospherian dipshittery about Brexit appeared unto the world as a duo, as one member of the manosphere who was already featured in this series and one who hasn't, yet. Watch this space. Not literally this space is my house. You're not invited in, okay? You could be any fucker, I don't know ya. But anyway, yes, as the dual forces of fucking insanity that are Paul Joseph Watson, who's just a prick who writes for InfoWars and he's a conspiracy fucking nut, and Stefan Molyneux, who is a conspiracy nut and a fucking ANCAP douche and just an all-round general culty fucking dickwad. And they join forces to sort of brag and talk shit about Brexit for half an hour, and they could have condensed it into about 2 fucking minutes, as is typical of Stefan Molyneux, of course.
So one of the things I think is fascinating about this, Paul, is the degree to which I think it's another nail in the coffin of the general media who cried wolf, cried Armageddon, cried the end of the world.
Now, Stefan, you might have had an interesting point there, had it not been for the fact that there are fucking tons of newspapers that were pro-Brexit. You, of course, had the Daily Mail, and naturally its sister paper, the Mail on Sunday. You had the Daily Express, no massive surprises there. The Daily Star, which is sort of a newspaper. The Daily Telegraph. And, of course, the largest selling English language daily newspaper in the world, The Sun, which is a total bag of shite, by the way. So there was absolutely loads of pro-Brexit media coverage, you lying pricks.
They went back to saying, well, of course, we've weathered it perfectly, with no reference to this earlier doom and glooming. At some point, aren't people going to get tired and annoyed at being jerked around in this kind of way?
Well, I mean, exactly. It was a stunning defeat, not only for the media, but, you know, for the polling agencies, even for the bookmakers. They all got it completely spectacularly wrong. And now, you know, they've been completely discredited once again.
Firstly, Paul, I really don't think you understand how bookmakers work, okay? They made a fucking killing on this. They made millions on this. This really wasn't a defeat for them. The bookmaker does not want the favourite to win. When the favourite wins, they lose money. That's why it's the fucking favourite. Do you know how they keep books? Do you know how that works? At all? Do you have the most basic understanding of this? And secondly, as to the pollsters being wrong and this being an utter refutation of their polling methods and all the rest of it, I think you'll find that actually last year's general election and the exit poll done there was significantly worse than this, okay? They fucked that one up totally, whereas this time around, actually, for the most part, it was either within or close to the margin of error in most of those polls. But don't let things like reality stop you from spinning your fucking narrative, eh?
You also have to remember that 1/3 of Labour Party supporters voted Leave. So when you talk about immigration, obviously the narrative is, you know, racist right-wing bigots voted Leave because they hate immigrants. Well, 1/3 of Labour Party supporters on the left voted Leave. And it's not because they're racist right-wing bigots. It's because they live in these towns, in these cities across the United Kingdom, especially in the north, where they've been displaced by these immigrant communities.
It's such an obvious nonsense when these people say it had absolutely nothing to do with racism. As I've previously said in the disclaimer at the start of this section, I don't think everyone was racist, but to say that there was no racism or that racism didn't really play a factor in this is fucking bullshit. And you know what, Paul and Stefan? I don't even have to go beyond the bounds of this conversation that you two had to show that at least some of it was about bigotry and racism.
And this idea that you just jam all these disparate belief systems and languages and cultures and religions and histories all together and it's all just going to work out fine just seems to be one of these continual delusions in history.
Well, because they're all over BBC. They actually visited Poland and they were like, how is this going to affect the poor Polish people? Well, who cares? Then you've got countries like Scotland who, you know, was completely dependent on England. Their main exports seem to be mediocre whiskey and heroin addicts. I felt patriotic probably for the first time in my entire life, because just like America, even though we're completely swamped by diversity, we just let everybody in, multiculturalism, social liberalism, feminism, the green movement, globalization, immigration. Of course, on every one of those issues, the people who voted for Leave were strongly against those issues. They thought they were a force for ill.
Yeah, so, you know, shut the fuck up with that nonsense, you racist, bigoted twats. But anyway, to round things off for this episode, it's time for... Yes, it's the inevitable bit about rape, because even though this is supposed to be about Europe, the manosphere were obviously going to find a way to turn it into being about rape, somehow. They're fucking obsessed. And the contributor this time would be one Black Pigeon Speaks, who is up to about 100,000 subscribers, and his rise has been just as horrific as his fucking content, by which I mean disgustingly. Seriously, this guy is basically human garbage.
Confidence in the Union is very low throughout the bloc, and given the handling of the 2008 financial crisis, as well as Chancellor Angela Merkel's invitation to all of the world to come to Europe, settle and live off benefits has been a complete disaster, with violence, crime, and mass rape becoming the norm.
Firstly, BPS, I don't think Angela Merkel's plan, however incredibly politically naive, let's be generous to her, the plan was for those people to arrive and just live off benefits. You fucking propagandist dick. But secondly, you say that mass rape is now the norm. So is that you accepting that rape culture is a thing? I mean, obviously it isn't, because you're a twat. Because you know that full well you don't actually give a fuck about rape victims whatsoever. You're just trying to besmirch refugees and immigrants and just basically brown people. That's your fucking deal, isn't it? So fuck off. But anyway, let's wrap this shit up, shall we? Because I've had quite enough of it by this point. Now, since filming a lot of the earlier stuff in this video, things have progressed a little bit. And quite frankly, it's been really interesting to see the manosphere's reaction to the fact that they've realised they've been sold a pack of lies. Yeah, the Leave campaign have basically backtracked on all of their major fucking promises during the campaign. Their nonsense about £350 million that we sent to Europe every week, which, by the way, was a fucking total lie. And that figure was accepted to be false by even some of the fucking Leave campaigners during the campaign itself. But anyway, they stuck with it, and they even put it on the side of the fucking battle bus. They said £350 million that we send to the EU every week would be spent on the NHS. They've all backtracked from that now. They said the economy would be absolutely fine. It's not. It's fucking tanking. It's ridiculous. And looks set to get fucking worse, somehow. And of course their big thing was about take back control. We're going to take back control of our borders. We're going to reduce immigration enormously and all the rest of it. And that was the big selling point. And now they're saying, nah, we're not really going to do any of that shit. And not just that, but they've even gone as far as to suggest that immigration wasn't really a big point in the referendum and that they didn't make a big deal of it and people didn't vote on that sort of thing. What a bunch of absolute fucking pricks. But you know what, guys? You fucking bought the lie, didn't you? Hook, line and sinker, they got you. And it's all the rest of us that now have to pay for that. Thanks. But anyway, if the manosphere has shown us anything in their reactions to this whole Brexit thing, it's that they're basically just a massive circle jerk. An echo chamber at this point, where they all have exactly the same opinions. Apart from on this occasion, Thunderfoot was a dissenting voice. But I get the feeling that was because, as he works in the Czech Republic, it's in his interest to keep the free, open movement of labour thing going. Otherwise, if we do leave the EU, he'll have to apply for a work visa, which he might very well get, but I assume it would be a complicated and fucked up process for him to have to go through. So basically, it's naked self-interest. So basically, they're all of one fucking mind, and they're basically fingering each other's arseholes at this point. What is the point of any of this, guys? Just fucking grow up, will ya? But anyway, to all of the manosphere, go fuck yourselves.
Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? If you say that you are mine, I'll be here till the end of time. So you gotta let me know. Should I stay or should I go? It's always tease. You're happy when I'm on my knees. One day it's fine, the next is black. So if you want me off your back, well, come on and let me know. Should I stay or should I go?